Hey everybody, welcome to the video. Let's go over the GoBowling 235 at the Daytona Road Course on Sunday, August 16th at 3 p.m. Eastern. And let me just preface this video by saying it's going to be a wild and wacky weekend. We really have no good idea of what to expect heading into Sunday. The NASCAR Cup Series has never ran here before. We have yet to run at a road course yet this season. And we have no practice and no real qualifying. And even pole sitter Kevin Harvick was quoted earlier in the week saying, me leading the pack into turn one is going to be pretty interesting because he has no freaking idea of where he is going. So it's going to be pretty interesting to watch. And it's going to be pretty interesting from a DFS perspective as well. But I am looking forward to it. So before we continue, as always, if you guys could just leave a like. I know it's something as small as just leaving a like on a video, but the more you guys interact with my content, leaving likes and leaving comments and all that fun stuff, it's going to help me out. You guys do a good job of that already, so I really do appreciate that. And if you're new to the channel, you might as well hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be here all season long trying to help you guys become better NASCAR DFS players. And keep in mind, this is a very long season, so I will be here for a long time. And I do cover other sports as well. So if you're going to keep coming back to the channel each and every single day or each and every single week, you might as well hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out whenever I post new content. Also, if you hit the notification bell, you'll get notified when I go live. You don't want to miss out on my live streams because they're always a good time each and every single Sunday or Saturday or Wednesday or Thursday, whenever the races are. But I answer everyone's questions. Everyone comes in, has a good time, and it's a pretty chill time, I would say. So I really do enjoy those. And if you want to follow me on social media, I'm at ChrisPennell16 on Twitter, CPenn16 on IG. I don't really post fancy stuff on Instagram, but it's pretty much just my Warzone victories on my story. And not to brag, but I had 3 wins last night. So it was a pretty good night of Warzone. And if you want to support my content over on Patreon, it's always much appreciated. We have 300 plus people in there. You can hop into the Discord chat, bug me all day if you want. I'll answer all of your questions. And you just get access to the data sheet, my articles, and all that fun stuff. I do my projections on there, my power rankings, the green flag speed cheat sheet, the actual cheat sheet, my GPP driver exposures. So I play 150 max lineups or 150 max contests every single week for NASCAR. So I put my exact GPP driver exposures up with notes on each and every single one. So I can't get more transparent than that. You know exactly where my money's going. I don't do lineups. I don't give out lineups, but I do put my exposures up there. And then I also have my heat map there, the previous optimal lineups at a certain track, which we are obviously not going to have any because this is a new track. But I have the 2020 optimal lineup, so each and every single lineup that's been optimal this season, it's on there. And I have a bunch of other stuff as well, starting position, track stats, and all that fun stuff. So if you're interested, links in the description below. But I think without further ado, we can get into the preview of this race. So this is the GoBowling 235. There's your outline of the track. As you can see, most of this is actually on the usual Daytona, not road course, the usual Daytona International Speedway track, the super speedway. But they're also going into the road course as well. You also got some chicanes, and it's going to be pretty interesting. So even though that it is going to be on the actual track for a good chunk of the time, it's not going to be similar racing whatsoever. These guys will be spread out, and it's not at all the same. But anyway, this is the Daytona International Speedway road course. It is a road course. Obviously, it's 3.81 miles in length. That is pretty darn long. And there's only 65 laps, which means there's less than 50 Dominator points available, meaning Dominator points are not as much of a premium as they are most weeks because we usually get anywhere from 200 to 500 laps each race, and that's a lot of Dominator points. Now, only 48.75, so I'm mainly focusing on finishing position potential and place differential. So yeah, you can target some guys up front, but I don't think you should go heavy on any of the guys starting up front. Well, I mean, you can go like somewhat heavy on Harvick, Truex, those kind of guys, and Chase Elliott, but for the most part, I think a lot of your ownership should be on some of the place differential plays, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but nothing too special here. I just realized I forgot the live stream. It's going to be on probably 12 or 1 o'clock on Sunday. I can't believe I forgot to mention that. I usually forget to mention it until we get to the preview, but it's going to be on Sunday. Since the race starts at 3, I can't be at 2, so either 12 or 1 o'clock. I'll put that in the comment section below, or I guess I'll ask you guys and you guys can comment, and then I'll post it on Twitter, and I'll also post it on YouTube prior. So be ready for the live stream at around Sunday afternoon, but that's pretty much it for the preview. I mean, it's just a road course that we haven't been yet, so we don't have any recent track history data to look at, but I will be looking at the past 10 races at road courses. So let's just get into the driver-by-driver breakdown before we get all mumble-jumbled here. So the pricing is pretty good on this race. They priced down the guys starting up front lower, and then they made the place differential guys a lot more expensive, which is what they should have done because place differential is way more important than Dominator points this weekend. So I think they did a good job because you're going to be pretty shocked when you see Kevin Harvick and Denny Hammond in that mid-9K range because we usually see those as the two most expensive drivers pretty much every single week. So I think they did a good job of pricing. Now, I usually go over recent track history and then the 2020 season stats in the track type form. For this race, I'm only doing track type form because we have no recent track history here. And the 2020 stats are all at tracks that aren't road courses this season, so it just kind of makes no sense to go over that and waste your guys' time. So this might be a quicker video than usual, which I am sure no one's complaining about because my videos run very, very long. Everyone else that posts NASCAR DFS videos, they go way shorter than mine. So mine are always very long and drawn out, but I love talking NASCAR, so they happen to be long. So hopefully you guys don't mind that too much. But this should be shorter because I can only go over one section here, so apologize if it's not too in-depth, but we don't have much data to work with no practice, no recent track history here, and we haven't ran a road course yet this year, so I can only go off the past 10 races at the Charlotte Roval, Sonoma, and Watkins Glen for the most part. But we'll start up top. We have Ryan Blaney, 11,000, starting 24th. You guys know I'll recommend Ryan Blaney any single time I can. Unfortunately, last week, Keselowski wrecked him out of the lead. It was looking like Ryan Blaney was going to be one of the best plays on the slate. He recovered from not getting enough fuel in his car, and he worked his way all the way back up to, I believe, into the top 10. Then he ended up grabbing the lead, and it wasn't for long because Keselowski took him out. But, oops, that was my dog. And here's the culprit himself. I know a lot of you probably asked me about, well, not probably, I know some of you have asked me about what my dog looks like. Well, here's Mr. Duke. You can finally meet him. He does not take too kindly to people walking outside. So I put his bark collar on so we don't have any more barking mishaps, but that is Mr. Duke. So you all have met him now. But anyway, we're talking about Ryan Blaney. And he's pretty much the best play on the slate if you just put aside salary. He's very expensive, so it's not that easy to fit him in. But he's someone you're definitely going to want exposure to because he's starting 24th. He won at the Roval in 2018, and he's fine at road courses. He's got 3 top 5s. He's got to win the past 10 races, and just overall really solid numbers. Hasn't really been a dominator, only, 1.8 laps led per race, but starting 24th, the guy's got top 5 potential, and he's got a fast car this season. I believe he's top 3 in average green flag speed this year. Now, obviously, don't have anything to compare it to with road courses, but average green flag speed-wise, he's been one of the best cars this season, so I gotta like Ryan Blaney. Very expensive, but he is the safest and best play on the slate. Also, Brett Keselowski, the guy that made Ryan Blaney start this slow because he wrecked him last week. He's a fine option as well. He's not as good of a play as Ryan Blaney because he's starting 17th compared to 24th. But he's still a fine play, and he's got some pretty similar numbers to Ryan Blaney here at road courses. Slightly better average drive rating of 94.1. Similar average finish, similar average running position, 3 top 5s as well. He's been more of a dominator with 10 laps led per race. He's a fine option. He's been great this season. He's had one of the fastest cars. I believe he's second in average green flag speed this year, at least since the restart. Chase Elliott still might be second overall, but I like Keselowski quite a bit, starting 17th. I'd prefer Blaney because I don't know if you're going to be able to fit both in your lineups. So if I had to pick one, I'm going to go Ryan Blaney, but I think both are fine if you can fit them in. So I do like Brett Keselowski because, look, if guys are starting further in the pack and they're good drivers and good at road courses, they're going to be playable for me. And Chase Elliott, he's 10,300. He is starting 7th. I know he's starting closer to the pack, but he's got to be one of the best plays in the entire slate. I mean, he's one of the best road course drivers in the entire series. He's won back-to-back races at Watkins Glen, and he also won the Roval last year even when crashing out of first place. He went straight into the wall, and he still won the race. He's great at road courses. He's tied for the most wins the past 10 races with Martin Truex Jr. with 3 apiece, 4 top 5s, and just overall really good numbers. Chase Elliott and Martin Truex have been the main dominators at road courses the past 10 races. Chase Elliott 17.9 laps led per race and 11 fast laps, and Truex is right there with them. So Truex and Elliott have been the 2 big dominators at road courses, and I do think Chase Elliott's one of the best plays on the slate. If you had to pick an upfront driver, like guys starting 10th and higher up, like 1st through 10th, Chase Elliott would be my highest owned guy because he's starting 7th, and he's just so good at road courses. He's had a fast car this season, and I like Chase Elliott quite a bit. So I'll definitely be on the Chase Elliott train. He's also the favorite in Vegas to win this race at plus 300. So I like Elliott, and so does Vegas as well. And Martin Truex Jr., 10,100. He's starting 3rd, so he's not as safe as Elliott because he's not starting as far back as Elliott. But he's still definitely a favorite to lead a lot of laps in this race. And by a lot, I mean like, you know what I mean, like around 20 laps. And potentially win this race. He's got elite numbers all around road courses. He's pretty much 1st and 2nd in every single category. He's averaging the most Draftkings points per race. He's got the best average finish, the best average running position, the best driver rating, tied for the most wins with Chase Elliott. 6 top 5s, 8 top 10s. He has been downright elite at road courses. He's averaging the most laps led and the most fast laps. So I like Truex quite a bit. Now he's starting 3rd, and dominator points aren't going to be that important. But he's one of the favorites to win this race. I believe he's 2nd right behind Chase Elliott. And I like both quite a bit. So definitely like Chase Elliott. I'm not sure if I'd really play both in the same lineup because I'd rather try to pair one of these guys with a guy like Blaney or Keselowski to get that starting up front race winning potential with a guy that has place differential potential. So playing both might be a little bit risky. I'll have some lineups with it just in case they finish 1-2, and if they both dominate some of the race and finish top 2, they're going to be good plays. So if you're playing cash games, I'm probably not playing both in the same lineup. But I like both. They're my two favorite drivers that are starting up front. Kyle Busch, he's fourth. He's 9,800. He's a fine option. He has no wins at the road courses the past 10 races, but it's not like he's been bad. He's got 4 top 5s and 7 top 10s. He's also led some laps, 6.4 laps led per race, 8.3 fast laps. Again, none of these laps that are going to be too huge because there's barely any laps at these road courses because they're so long and usually shorter than usual. But he's still a fine option. He's a GPP option. In cash games, I'd rather play guys like Truex, Chase Elliott, Kevin Harvick that are starting up front. But Kyle Busch is viable in tournaments just because he's Kyle Busch. And he is fifth in average green flag speed this season as much as we hate him. He also looked good last week too, which I know means nothing because it's a much different track. But he's still been showing some speed lately, which is encouraging. Kevin Harvick, 9,600. He's on the pole. And like I said, he has no idea where he's going. So it's going to be fun watching turn 1. Obviously, they got simulators and stuff, so he has an idea. He's just being funny. But for the most part, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how turn 1 goes because some guys, I feel like, we might see a caution turn 1. We might. I think there's a decent chance of that, but hopefully they take it slow and everything falls into place. But Kevin Harvick, he's in the best position to lead a lot of laps early, especially if people take it early at the jump because Kevin Harvick should be able to just take a nice slow turn into first and lead a decent chunk of laps early on. He's averaging 47.3 DraftKings points per race the past 10 races at road courses, which I believe is the second most, only behind Martin Truex. He has a win, 3 top 5s and 8 top 10s, which is tied for the most with Truex. He's led the 4th most laps led at 9.6 laps led per race, 7.2 fast laps. So I think Kevin Harvick is obviously a great option. He's really cheap at 9,600. He's starting first, so there's a good chance he could lead half the race, for being honest. Obviously things could happen, and I think Truex and Elliott are going to be threats to pass him, but they also offer a little bit more PD upside as well. But I think Kevin Harvick at 9,600 is someone you're going to definitely want to get exposure to, just because he's been the best car of the season. He's first in average green flag speed, and he seems to win every single weekend, so he should certainly be on your radar. Denny Hammond, he's more of a tournament option for me. I mean, he's obviously good at road courses. He's got an average finish of 7.3, which is the best out of all drivers, right? Even above Martin Truex, which I believe I said Truex had the best average finish. That is false. That would be Hamlin, but it's very close. He's got 6 top 5s, which is tied for the most with Martin Truex. He has a win, and he's averaging nearly 45 DraftKings points per race. So he's obviously a good option. I prefer Kevin Harvick, but you can't fade Hamlin because he's been so good this season. And for the most part, at the end of the race, it's usually Harvick and Hamlin battling out, and he's one of the favorites to win the race. And you definitely got to have some interest in Denny Hammond. He's been one of the fastest cars since the NASCAR restart on May 17th. But starting second, there's not much PD upside, but I like the price tag, and if he gets around Harvick early on, I definitely have some leverage there because I would assume Hamlin's going to be much lower owned than Kevin Harvick. Then Joey Logano, I'm probably not going to be playing Joey Logano, to be honest. I might sprinkle him in, but he's not the greatest road course driver in the world. He's only averaging 23 DraftKings points per race, 77 driver rating, average running position of 16, only 2 top 5s, doesn't really lead laps at these. I don't think Joey Logano is that great of a play, so he's someone I feel pretty confident in fading. But then again, we don't really know what to expect, so that probably means Logano's going to go off and crush, right? But overall, I'm going to be lower on Joey Logano than anyone we've talked about yet so far, so not too big on Joey Logano. Eric Jones, I think he's a fine option. He's 9,000. He's starting 20th, and anytime I can recommend Eric Jones and Ryan Blaney in the same slate, you guys know I would do it because I love playing those guys. I am the leader of the Eric Jones and Ryan Blaney fan club for the most part, so it's not a bad fan club to be a part of because Blaney crushes. He's been in the most optimal lineups this season at 10, tied with Kevin Harvick. And Jones is a big hit or miss guy, but when he hits, he can usually win you a tournament. And I think he's got that kind of upside this weekend, starting 20th. Road courses, he's not been great, but he's actually had some solid performances. He does have 5 top 10s with 2 top 5s. I mean, when I say great, I mean the driver rating is only 78 and average running position of 17.3. But he has had some solid finishes recently. I mean, he's finished in the top 10 50% of the time he's only has 8 races here, so over 50% of the time at 5 top 10s of the past 8 races and 2 top 5s. So I actually like Eric Jones quite a bit. I mean, he's got top 5 potential, starting 20th, 9,000. Place difference is going to be pretty important in this race. I think we should be playing some Eric Jones this weekend. I definitely like him. Dropping down to the 8K range, we have Clint Bohr, 8,800, starting 12th. And Clint's actually one of my favorite tournament plays on the entire slate. And I really hope people skip over him because he's starting 12th, because I've been hammering the place differential is important, but finishing potential is also important. And he's starting 12th. And the guy's got top 5 upside. I mean, if you're looking at his past 10 races at road courses, he's finished in the top 5 50% of that time. He's got 5 top 10s, 7 top 15s, and 9 top 20s. And he's got top 5 potential here. He's great at the road courses, average finish of 11.7. And I really do think there's some potential here for Clint Bohr. So I definitely have some interest in him starting 12th. And he's one of my favorite GPP options on the entire slate. William Byron, 8,600. He's starting 13th. He's okay. He only has 6 races here. He's finished in the top 10 2 of those times, and he actually has led quite a bit of laps at the road courses. He's averaging 7.3 laps led per race, which is more than guys like Denny Hammond and Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney. So I think William Byron is playable in tournaments, kind of like Clint Bohr. I mean, I trust Clint Bohr more than I do William Byron because he has much more experience at the road courses, and he's been tremendous there in his career. But Byron's interesting in tournaments. I don't think a lot of people are going to go there starting 13th, but the guy's got top 10 potential, and there's a good chance he'll be lower owned as well. So I do like William Byron quite a bit in tournaments. Dropping down to Kurt Busch, he's been great at the road courses. He's not like a top 5 kind of guy, but he's pretty much been in the top 10 almost every single time the past 10 races. He's averaging 42 DraftKings points per race, average finish inside the top 10. Only 1 top 5, but 7 top 10s, 9 top 15s, and 10 top 20s. He's been very consistent at the road courses. He's a tournament option only because, look, he's starting 8th, but the finishing potential is there. So I do think he's a really strong tournament option, but not someone I'd go with in cash games. But the history at the road courses have been pretty good for Kurt Busch, and I certainly think he's playable with that price tag. You just kind of got to hope for a top 5 there since he's starting 8th. But one of the best plays, if not the best play in the entire slate, if you factor in the price, it's Alex Bowman, 8,200, starting 27th. I would expect him to be my highest owned driver, and I think he's going to be the highest owned driver on the entire slate. And I mean, he just makes too much sense. I know he's been a hard guy to trust this season, but at road courses, he's been pretty good. He only has 6 road course races, but he's finished in the top 5 each time. He's been great at the Roval, or not. He's not finished in the top 5 each time. He's finished in the top 15 each time with 6 top 15s in the past 6 races. But he's finished in the top 5 twice, which is pretty good. It's almost 50% of the time. And he is good at the Roval. He's got an average finish inside the top 10 at the road courses in the past 6 races, averaging nearly 40 DraftKings points per race. Now he's starting 27th. I think he's the best play in the entire slate, and I'd imagine he's going to be my highest owned driver. Now, there's merit to fading the highest owned driver and being underweight, but if you're playing cash games, you got to plug in Alex Bowman. I mean, he just grades out as too good of a play. Unless he wrecks, he'll be a bad play, but I'm not in the business of projecting wrecks unless we're at Daytona, which I know we're at Daytona, but the actual Daytona Super Speedway plate racing. So I love Alex Bowman. I think he's a fine option. Jimmy Johnson, 8,100, starting 11th. He's just one of those tournament guys. I'm not in love with Johnson here, but he should contend for a top 15. The past 10 races, he's got 6 of those. Average running position of 14.1. I'm not in love with Johnson, but he's okay. I mean, he's got top 10 potential. He's cheap at 8,100. Would I much rather play Bowman? Yes, but I'm not going to leave Johnson out of the player pool. But to be honest, I'm not that high on him for the most part. So we'll drop down to the 7K range. We have Eric Amarola, 7,900, starting 6th. I mean, he's been great this season, so I think he's worthy of a sprinkle. But road courses, he's got 2 top 10s, no top 5s, drive rating of 67.7, averaging 30 DraftKings points per race with an average finish of near 20th. I mean, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he's been really good this season and showed a ton of speed, so I think he's worthy of some ownership just because he's in the 7K range, which we saw him in the 9K range last race. So we're getting a discount on him, but yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I'd rather play the place differential guys below him, but not a cash game play for sure. He's tournament option only, but there's top 5 potential on him just because he's been so good this season. But MDB, I'd rather play MDB. He comes in at 7,800. He's starting 9th, and he's a pretty good road course driver now. He's in much better equipment than he's ever been, so you got to give him that benefit of the doubt as well. He does have a top 5 recently. If we're looking at the last race at Sonoma, he actually finished 4th, and that was in much worse equipment. And MDB has shown a lot of speed this season, and look, he's in a pretty good car now, so I think MDB is a really solid tournament option starting 9th. People will probably shy away from him starting 9th in the top 10 because everyone's going to want place differential, but I like MDB in tournaments quite a bit. There's definitely top 10 potential there, and he finished inside the top 5 at Sonoma last season in worse equipment, so I think there's some potential there with MDB. Cole Custer, Brendan Gaughan, Tyler Reddick, and Christopher Bell. We got the rookies and the Gaughan that usually only does super speedways, so we're going to have no track history here for the road courses, but I'll just keep it simple. Cole Custer starting 26. He's a fine play just because of where he's starting. He's in good equipment in Stuart Haas. Brendan Gaughan, he's starting in the very back. He literally can't move backwards. So the worst case scenario for Brendan Gaughan here is 3 points. And if there is some wrecks, he should be able to move up and fight for a top 30 here. I'm not expecting like a top 15 in a Gaughan, but he's got top 30, top 25 potential here if there is some carnage. So I do think he's playable, but I do think he's a bit overpriced at 7,500. Tyler Reddick starting 18th. He's interesting in tournaments. I mean, there's potential there for the top 15, but really it's tough because we have no Cup Series statistics on these guys at road courses. So these guys, for the most part, are just tournament options because it's hard to trust. Bell did finish 2nd at Watkins Glen last season in the Xfinity Series. I believe he is behind Austin Cindric, if I remember correctly. Or was it Joey Logano? I forget what year that was, but he's fine. I mean, There's just not guys I'm going to go too heavy on. Gahn and Custer would be the highest on just because of where they're starting, but I also don't have that price tag on Brendan Gahn, but they're okay options. It's just no Cup Series statistics here. We have no practice. It's going to just be a little bit tricky to trust. But Michael McDowell, I think he's one of the better plays in the entire slate. I know he's a bit expensive at $7,000, but he's pretty strong at road courses if you put into consideration the kind of equipment he is and the kind of driver he really is. So he's got an average running position inside the top 20, average finish inside the top 20. And in the past 10 races at road courses, he has finished in the top 20 70% of the time. He also has 3 top 15. So I actually like Michael McDowell quite a bit. He's starting 30th. It feels a little expensive for him, but I do think he's a tremendous play. So I do like Michael McDowell, and he'll be one of my higher-owned drivers on this slate. Daniel Suarez, 6,900, starting 31st. Keep in mind, he's in a much worse car now, the lawnmower man, as we like to call him. But when he was in good equipment, he was pretty good at the road courses. He had 2 top 5s, 6 top 20s, 2 top 10s, 3 top 15s. Much worse equipment now, but I still think he's fine. He's starting 31st. He's a bit expensive, but he does have good history at road courses, so I'll give him that. I know he's in a much worse car now, but I mean, he should probably contend for a top 25 here, so I think he's somewhat interesting. I'd much rather play Michael McDowell starting 30th at $7,000 because I feel like I can trust his car a little bit more. But they're both okay options, but I'll definitely get the nod to McDowell over Suarez for sure. Dropping down to Austin Dillon, he's 6,800 starting 10th. Look, I don't like where he's starting, and he's also kind of sucks at the road courses. Only an average running position of 22.8, average finish of 25.7. No top 15s, no top 10s, and only 2 top 20s and 10 tries. So I think Austin Dillon's a pretty strong fade on this slate. He's just not that great of a road course driver. And starting 10th, there's not much room for error for him. So I think he's a pretty firm pass for the most part. Matt Kenseth, 6,700, starting 16th. I mean, Kenseth is just a hard guy to trust. And also, if you're looking at the other numbers, he was in a different car, he retired, he came back, and he's kind of in a wreck fest kind of guy this year. I'll never forget the race at, I forget, what was it, New Hampshire? He had like 3 cautions in a row. He's just tough to trust. He's starting 16th. He's probably going to end up moving back. I mean, if you're looking at his old equipment, average finish of 16.2, so even then there's not much upside here. So Matt Kenseth, I just think there's better plays on the slate. I'd rather play Chris Buescher, who's right below him, starting 21st at 6,600. He's been pretty consistent at the road courses. He's not going to like knock your socks off with the top 10, but looking at the past 10 races at road courses, he has 3 top 15s and 8 top 20s. That's pretty good. So there's like an 80% chance he's going to end up moving up a little bit. I think we're going to see him anywhere from 15th to 20th place, which doesn't sound great, but that's about 25 to 35 fantasy points, which I think will get the job done at 6,600. So I don't mind Chris Buescher here. With the way the new starting order is, a lot of the cheap options are no longer like going to be starting in the 30s. They're kind of starting where they're going to finish. So it makes it a little bit tricky down here, but we're going to be forced to play them because we can't make Alex Bowman our lowest price driver in our lineup, unfortunately, because we're going to have to go much lower than that. So we're going to have to pick some of these guys out, but I do like Chris Buescher starting 21st. He should grade out pretty well for me. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 6,500, starting 25th. GPP option only. He's not been that great at the road courses. He does have 5 top 20s, but running position of 23.2, finish of 24.6, only 1 top 15. You guys get the idea of Stenhouse. He's all or nothing kind of guy. He'll probably push it. He'll probably be the one that wrecks everybody in the turn 1. He'll probably just full send it and just take out half the cars, and probably all the guys I own, because that's how it usually goes. But he's a tournament option starting 25th. I mean, I don't love it, but we're going to be forced to play some of these guys, and Stenhouse has top 20 potential at least. He's done it 50% of the time the past 10 races at road courses, so he's on our radar for sure. Tournaments only, though. I would not go there in cash games because you guys know there's a good chance a car will just randomly, spontaneously combust or something. I don't know. But he's a GPP option. John Hunter Nemechek, 6,400, starting 28th. Again, another rookie, so we don't have any Cup Series statistics, but I like the price tag. He's been a top 20 contender for the most part this season. He tends to wreck a lot. Was that last race he wrecked 3 times? Or it might have been on Saturday, but he wrecked a ton. But he's a top 20 contender, and he's only 6,400, so I think he is certainly playable on this slate. Again, no Cup Series statistics at road courses, so it makes it kind of an unknown. But I think we should have at least some interest there, especially starting way back in the pack at 28th. Ryan Newman, 6,300, starting 14th. He's one of those guys you could play for a high finish potential. Looking at the past 10 races at road courses, he does have 2 top 10s, 4 top 15s, and 6 top 20s. I just wish he was starting a little bit further back, but the price is nice, and there is top 15 potential here, and even if he loses a spot or 2, that might not be the worst case scenario, especially at this price tag. So I think Newman's playable in tournaments. You don't go there in cash games, but there's potential there for him to finish right around where he starts, which won't kill you whatsoever. Bubba Wallace, he's a pass for me. He did get that DoorDash sponsorship today, so shout out to him. He has been reeling in the sponsorships, but he's probably going to be a pass here. He's not great at road courses at all. 6 races at these, no top 20s, and just average finish of 28th. I think he's a pretty easy fade there, starting 19th. Corey LaJoie, 5,900, starting 29th. He's not good at the road courses either. Running position of 30.6, finish of 31.5. But we're going to be forced to play a few of these guys. So I actually don't hate LaJoie here. I know it's not the greatest idea to look at this season's statistics because they're not road courses. But this season he has an average finish of 25.2, running position of 25.9, and 4 top 20. So 5,900, starting 29th. He's viable for sure because we're going to have to play some of these guys. We can't just play everyone that's 7K and up unless you go extra balance, but you're probably sacrificing some place differential as well. So we're going to have to dig into here a little bit, especially for playing Blaney's and Keselowski's of the world. So I don't mind LaJoie, 5,900. Ty Dillon starting 23rd, 5,800. I like the price tag, but he's probably going to finish right around here. Looking at the past 8 races of road courses for Ty Dillon, 2 top 20s and 1 top 15. So he's fine. He's averaging 4.5 place differential spots per race. But I mean, we're looking at probably like a 20th to 25th place finish for Ty Dillon, but at 5,800, that might be enough. So he's on the short list for sure for the guys that are priced down here. JJ Yeley, no thank you. Brennan Poole, no. Sorensen, no. James Davison's interesting. He's starting 38th. He's 5,200. I actually think he's a decent dumpster diving option. If you're looking at his numbers this season, now it's not that big of a sample size, but he's got an average finish of 33.8 and a running position of 34.4. He's starting 38th, 5,200. He's going to allow you to fit in your Blaney's and Keselowski's. So I don't hate James Davison as a pump play, and I think people are going to play him as well. So that might actually lead to close to double-digit ownership for a guy that's this down in this bottom tier for the most part. People usually skip these guys out, but I think James Davison has a chance to gain some ownership this weekend. Priest, 5,100. He's really cheap, but he's starting 22nd. If you're looking at the past 3 races of road courses for him, he's got an average running position of 23.9, no top 20s, average finish of 28.7. I mean, you can look his way just because he's Ryan Preece and he's got more upside than most do in this 5 and 4K range, but there is downside here starting that far up in 22nd. But if you're looking at his numbers this season, he's got 6 top 20s and 1 top 15, running position at 24.2. I don't hate it at the price tag. I'll have some Ryan Preece ownership just because of the price tag, and he's got top 20 potential for sure. And I'm not playing Timmy Hill, Garrett Smith, or Quinn Houff. So that's pretty much going to be it for the video, guys. The lowest I would go is Ryan Preece. So if you made it through the entire way, please let me know in the comments. I always love hearing that. And I also just saw that the video is only 27 minutes long, so much shorter than usual. I'm sure you guys are all happy. But do appreciate you watching. Make sure you check the live stream out on Sunday. I'll let you guys know what time that's going to be. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Leave a like if you haven't already. Helps me out. Subscribe if you're new. And I hope you guys enjoy your weekend.